everybody welcome in. Let's get into an off of the beaten path. Step away from the mainstream media stories, and I have got a heinous story for you. Pregnant woman's body found, burned in alley. And with that, let's get into it. A couple of days ago, a driver was driving down a road in Fresno, California, and he saw a fire, so he called 911. Firefighters, maintenance crews, police officers raced to the scene and found a body on fire. Who does something like this? And who was she? Let's get into this heinous crime. Pregnant woman's body found, burned in an alley. And who would have imagined that her own brother, yes, her own brother did this? Before the officers even had a suspect, of course they did not know who the woman was that was in an alley, actually on fire. They described her as visibly pregnant, but was not clear how far along she was, and she seemed to be in her 20s. They also stated that it was not immediately clear whether the woman was alive when she was burned, but said that the victim had other injuries beyond the burn. Evidence at the scene also showed that an accelerant was used to set this pregnant woman on fire. At that point, she was not identified, and they did not know whether she lived in the apartment complex nearby. So let's go find out who she was. And my thoughts and prayers go out to her family, and may her brother rot in hell. Lieutenant Paul Cervantes described it as an heinous crime. He arrived on the scene around 12:20 p.m. in the 4400 block of North Cornelia Avenue after the man noticed the blaze and called 911. He also said, "We understand the gravity of every homicide investigation, but this one particular one strikes a very deep chord. We will work day and night until we solve it," which they did. He explained that the female, a pregnant woman, was black, seemed to be around 20s of age, of small stature, and it was immediately apparent that she was pregnant. This is absolutely horrendous and horrifying, but what is actually more horrifying than me actually reading that her brother set his pregnant sister on fire is what the police chief says in the interview, which we are going to listen to. He also said that the man that was driving by also called 911 and also yelled for help from nearby workers who tried to put out the blaze with a fire extinguisher. I could not even imagine seeing that. At 12:26 p.m., firefighters arrived and put out the fire, and she was pronounced dead. Who is she? Her name is N-Kya Logan, 26 years old, and she was 38 weeks pregnant with a baby boy she planned to name Noah. The police are saying that based on the evidence recovered, her brother, a 41-year-old Aaron Dudley, planned this crime for a while. Over what? What would make a brother stab his sister, his unborn nephew, and then what he does next? They believe that she was stabbed in her home that they shared with their mom. He put her body in a trash bin and pushed it into an alleyway near Cornelia and Highway 99. He set the bin on fire with N-Kya inside. They comment, "It takes an awful lot of evil, hate, planning to stab your sister multiple times. She did die from stab wounds. At this time, we believe that's also the case for the baby." Keep in mind, the chief says this baby was 36 weeks, and the baby also was stabbed multiple times. It is such a heinous crime. It's almost too hard to actually even talk about. The world is scary, and it seems like every day it gets scarier and scarier. And her brother Aaron was seen on a surveillance video in the neighborhood pushing the trash bin. When the police showed up at his door, he tried to run. He was caught, arrested, and booked into jail. He tried to clean up the evidence and tried to dispose of his sister's body. He also states that the police were called to the family's home last July. Aaron was put on a 72-hour hold after he was found to be a threat to himself or someone else. And this is heartbreaking. During that call, Chief Balderrama also states that his sister feared for her safety. And now look, she is gone because of him. Unbelievable. Just senseless, sad. Like, what could be his reason? 41-year-old Aaron Dudley appeared in court on Friday, December 16th, 2022, and his plea was not guilty to murdering his 26-year-old sister, N-Kya. Seen on video. Why? Let's go ahead and listen to this quick video.
Today, the brother of 26-year-old N-Kya Logan, who is accused of stabbing the pregnant woman and setting her body on fire, appeared in court. Aaron Dudley charged with 2 counts of murder, 1 for his sister and 1 for her unborn baby. Our Liv Johnson joins us live from the courthouse with details. Liv?
Yeah, Jennifer, Dudley pleaded not guilty to all charges today, including the murder of his sister and unborn nephew. Now, if he is found guilty of all of these charges, he faces the death penalty or life in prison without the possibility of parole. In handcuffs and a red jumpsuit, 41-year-old Aaron Dudley appeared in court on Friday to plead not guilty to murdering his 26-year-old sister, N-Kya Logan, and her unborn son, who would have been named Noah, who was expected to be born in just a few weeks. Dudley facing charges for the murder of the unborn child because he would have survived outside of the womb. Police Chief Paco Balderrama saying Dudley was caught while running away from police.
We had suspicions that it could be the brother may have been involved, and he ran for police, which is something very typical of a guilty person.
Dudley is accused of stabbing N-Kya to death and then lighting her body on fire in a trash can. Balderrama says the call they got on Tuesday wasn't Dudley's first run-in with the cops.
The Fresno Police Department received a call on July the 28th of 2021, so about a year and a half ago, where the suspect in this case was deemed to be a threat to either himself or someone else and was placed on I believe it was a 72-hour hold.
Balderrama believes Dudley knew exactly what he was doing when he allegedly committed the horrific crime.
This is a person who had the wherewithal to try to clean up the evidence, try to dispose of the body, ran when the police came to knock on the door to see what was going on. So this is not somebody who does not know what he's doing.
If convicted of all charges, Dudley faces the death penalty or life without the possibility of parole. Balderrama says the motive is still unknown.
It's pretty relevant in my opinion. I mean, it takes an awful lot of evil, hate, planning to stab your own sister multiple times.
Dudley has been denied bail and he will appear in court again on January 5th. Live from the courthouse, I'm Liv Johnson, KC24, local news that matters.
To me, there is definitely aggravating factors in this senseless, heinous crime. I can't imagine what his sister did that was so evil that you did that to her. I hope he does get the death sentence. Some people may not agree with it, but this right here is one that gets the express pass, in my opinion. Let's close it out with a few words from her friends.
She was lovable, she was caring, she had this infectious laugh that just made you want to just laugh more and more.
Alessandra Torres grew up with N-Kya Long, cheering together through middle school and high school with their birthdays just one day apart.
She was just full of light
And it's a wrap. Have a good day or night wherever you are.